Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ocean News. You're watching the Global Script. I'm your host, Shafat Ali. President Donald J. Trump welcomed Russian President Vladimir Putin to Alaska for a high-stakes summit on Russian-Ukraine war, followed by talks with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders. Now, Trump claims he'll know within weeks if he can stop the war. Here's the latest, that on August 15th, 2025, President Donald Trump rolled out a red carpet for Russian President Vladimir Putin at joint base in Anchorage, Alaska. The summit, their first face-to-face since 2019, aimed to address Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine. After nearly 3 hours of talks, no ceasefire was announced. Now, Trump called this meeting extremely productive, claiming that great progress with a few issues unresolved, though he remained vague on details. Putin echoed optimism, stating that an understanding was reached, but stressed that root causes of the conflict are nod to Moscow's demand, like Ukraine abandoning NATO ambitions. The absence of Ukrainian president at Alaska summit raised concerns in Kiev, with Zelensky warning that deals without Ukraine's involvement would be dead solution. Now, following the summit, Trump spoke with Zelensky and announced a White House meeting on August 18th, joined by European leaders, including UK's Keir Starmer, France's Emmanuel Macron, and Germany's Olaf Scholz. Trump pushed Ukraine to drop NATO's plans and cede Crimea, while Zelensky emphasized the need for strong security guarantees. Now, Trump boldly claims, as reported, that he would know within a week or two if he could end the war, a statement that has drawn skepticism given the conflict's complexity. European leaders stressed that any peace deal must include Ukraine and respect its territorial integrity, with French President Emmanuel Macron warning that weakness towards Russia could fuel future conflicts. Now, meanwhile, Russia continued attacks, including drone strikes killing civilians, underscored the urgency of diplomacy. Now, as Trump prepares for a potential trilateral meeting with Putin and Zelensky, the world watches to see if his deal-making can deliver peace, or if this war is deep-rooted enough that it should be out of range of Donald J. Trump. Now, joining me now live from the United States, our Richard Libby has been on our show before. He is a freelance writer right now, but he has served 32 years at the Post. So thank you for joining in, Mr. Libby. And also we are joined by Lev Parnas, who is the author of The Shadow Diplomacy and a public speaker and a die-hard political activist. So we welcome both our guests on our show. Well, without much ado, I'm going to straight get to the questions. Mr. Libby, from you first. What do you think happened at Alaska when Putin visited over there?
Well, from the perspective of many observers, Trump walked away with nothing at that moment, but Lev may disagree. It was a jumble of outcomes, and then he began to claim, as he usually does, a victory. Lev can speak quite thoroughly to this episode, as well as to Donald Trump's tactics, because Lev was inside the White House and studied the man close up. So I'll turn it over to Lev, if you don't mind.
Well, I will go to Lev, but I want your version first. What do you think of that? What do you think happened over there?
I think it was a spectacle that made the United States look weak. I think that when soldiers lay down a red carpet for an acknowledged, well, he's not an acknowledged war criminal by himself, but for somebody who invaded a sovereign country and got away with it, it's a bit disconcerting for Americans to see. But Americans have short, if no memory, of history. These are the kind of episodes that have happened in the past, particularly around World War II, when famously England's Neville Chamberlain declared peace in our time, when Hitler was preparing to invade Czechoslovakia after saying he would not do it. And these episodes, and there's been others, show me at least one thing. You cannot trust dictators at their word.
Well, I think Trump made it loud and clear before getting to the conversation that he wants ceasefire and it's non-negotiable. And it said it's of no use if he doesn't get a ceasefire. Lev, do you think that Trump wasn't successful? And would you agree with Libby's comments on that?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And Rich is right. First of all, Trump embarrassed the United States on the world platform. But for those of you that follow me or watch my writings on Substack, I've been talking about this even previously before the meeting in Alaska, and this was all staged. This was theatrics. Donald Trump is a showman. They did not sit there. Just so you understand, I was an official translator also in Trump's world between certain oligarchs, Rudy Giuliani in Vienna, in the UK, and I can tell you how it works. That 3 hour meeting between the pleasantries, between the goodbyes, between the translators translating it back and forth and going on, was you could probably narrow it down to about an hour and a half. So for anybody to think that in an hour and a half they said they flew all that time, all of that from one side to the other to sit there for an hour and a half, and in an hour and a half they were able to negotiate and talk about all of these complicated situations having to do with land swaps and everything. It's all theatrics. It was all done to be able to, for Donald Trump to take away from what was going on here in the United States with the Epstein cover up. And for Vladimir Putin, it was another way because right before this happened, if you remember, there were supposed to be major sanctions levied on Vladimir Putin. There was a lot of things happening. So it was another way of basically moving the goalpost and moving it forward. So when you say, was there accomplished? I mean, for Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, a lot was accomplished. But for the United States and for Ukraine, nothing was accomplished. Because you also don't talk about the financial deals that are going back and forth, because of the real negotiation is taking place behind the scenes with people like Steve Witkoff, like Kirill Dmitriev, the people that were there. These are the people that, and I've been reporting and talking about, that are making the real deals that are behind the scenes. The deals that Trump is literally negotiating with land that he doesn't own, with minerals that he doesn't control, with Ukrainian sovereignty that he has no right to do. Today, I'm also talking about the meeting that they're going to have today. It's another part of theatrics. The media is chasing it, saying, "Oh, what are they going to talk about?" Listen, the facts are the facts. Ukraine is not giving up any land. Russia is not leaving without giving. They both said it. So the things that are going to be taking place behind the scenes is going to be more theatrics, more Trump, as I call it. Him trying to be that mobster that he always wanted to be by trying to negotiate with Zelensky, by threatening him, then maybe promising him certain things and doing stuff like that, which my sources are reporting. So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that nobody talks about, because what you're seeing play out is theatrics. I mean, this was all pre-planned, discussed. That's why before Putin even left American soil, the bombardment started on to Ukraine. Today, while Zelensky's coming to the office to meet with Trump, we're all talking about peace. But meanwhile, today, again, Russia is invading and hitting with missiles and jihads. So nothing is stopping. So there's no peace, and that's another thing I wrote in my Substack. Don't listen to what they're saying. Watch what they're doing. Watch their actions. Watch what Trump is doing.
Well, the world was watching what was happening. We were watching that in Anchorage at the Elmendorf Richardson. We saw the red carpet welcome for the Putin. We saw the moment he was getting into the Beast. We saw a B-2 bomber flying right above him. We saw for after, like, I don't know how many years, but for the first time in my memory, we saw a president of the United States and president of Russia. They're both riding in the same car. We saw what was going on, and you just outrightly call it theatric. You both put me in a very difficult situation where I have to advocate for the Donald Trump, which I certainly do not want to. But what do we achieve, or what do United States achieve with all these so-called theatrics, as you say?
Well, see,
You first.
yeah, no, great question, Chef. And you gotta understand, see, when you say United States, we typically think that the president of the United States represents the United States first. With Donald Trump, you have to understand he represents himself. He's not mega where he's not even mega where it's America first. He's Donald Trump first, his family first, his legacy first. And that is what it's about. Then comes the interest of the United States, absolutely. They're not that far apart, but he comes first. So when we talk about what did Donald Trump achieve and what did America achieve, America didn't achieve anything. That's why I said America got embarrassed on the world stage. But it's not the first time. Look at Donald Trump's trip to the Middle East, right before he went to the Middle East and took his prized possession of a Qatari jet or plane that they gave him. His kids, along with Steve Witkoff's son, which the media doesn't report, have traveled that same tour in the Middle East prior to Donald Trump and cut deals from real estate to cryptocurrency. This is all about transactional. Donald Trump is a transactional president. Everybody knows it. I know him very White House, but I was his personal guy that he sent in 2019 to Ukraine to deal with Zelensky. I was the guy that put pressure on Vladimir Zelensky to open an investigation into the Bidens. So I know very well the tactics Donald Trump uses and how he does it. I was his Steve Witkoff back then, if you know what I mean, Chef.
Time for a quick break here. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get back to the discussion. You were saying.
I was saying that Lev is exactly right about Trump wanting things to turn out for his benefit. For example, right now, Washington, D.C.'s police force and political apparatus have been taken over by Donald Trump. Why? Because he's an autocrat in training. He wants people to think he can control everything. And let me give you a small anecdote. I teach at a university in downtown DC, and I've got an alert on my phone from the university saying, avoid this area. There is intense police activity. And I walked past because I had to go anyway. I saw 7 police cars lined up. What was the target? One homeless man in a tent. He's instilling fear in people because that's the way. A politician with the ability to pull those levers will instill fear. Now, this comment may get me kicked off every platform everywhere, but I think Americans see these things in a different context than journalists. I think they see him as a strong man, which is good, and these strong men then get feeling entitled to take other opportunities. For example, we know that Trump is saying no Article 5, no NATO protection for Ukraine. Why is that? Because that's the thing that would matter most to getting a free Ukraine. I maybe Lev won't agree, but that's my view.
No, I think you're 100% right. I mean, Trump is not only playing games with Article 5, but, and his perception. You also have to understand what you're saying is also part of a plan that is a lot deeper than just having the military in the street. He spoke to Vladimir Putin. See, the media doesn't pick up. There was a conversation which he went on Sean Hannity right afterwards, where he tells about a conversation he had with Putin at this meeting, where Putin tells him that he won the 2020 election. It was rigged, and it was rigged because of mail-in voting. So what does Donald Trump do today? Today, Donald Trump is signing an executive order to get rid of mail-in voting. That's part of Project 2025, who is being run by Stephen Miller, Russell Vought, Susie Wiles. I know these people intimately. Trump is just the face of this whole thing because it's to stay in power forever. And that is where the love fest between him and Putin comes. And you said it very well, that he is a student of authoritarian. Besides being a useful idiot, he's a student of the authoritarian.
Lev, with all due respect, I mean, you all have. I understand. I mean, you have a background and you understand Donald Trump more than anyone else, and you also know Zelensky more than anyone else in the scenario right now. And I really want next time, if we have both these distinguished guests with us, we want someone like Ben Shapiro on the panel with us before he goes Tucker Carlson or Anna Kasparian. I don't know. I mean, it's time. Anyone can become anything. So, where do you think that Trump has put Vladimir Zelensky in this whole scenario? Because he clearly has loosened and weakened his position. He has completely, strong-armed him and left him with no other choice other than to submit to Russia. Your take on that, Lev?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Chef, I want to say I welcome Ben Shapiro, Rudy Giuliani, and any one of them to please come on. They are scared to debate me because, see, they are just pundits. They have opinions. I was actually in the room. I actually know Donald Trump very well. I actually did Donald Trump's dirty work. I ended up going to prison on behalf of Donald Trump, and that's why. So I welcome them anytime. But I promise you, you'll have a hard time getting them on any panel with me because I don't talk about opinions, I talk about facts. And when you talk about Zelensky, I'll tell you exactly what Donald Trump thinks about Zelensky. And you could also go back to a recording that was leaked about a dinner that me and Donald Trump had in 2018, and it was leaked by the media. It's out there, and where Donald Trump asked me. This was the very first time where Donald Trump was even understood what Ukraine was. He asked me, how long could Ukraine stand in the war with Russia? And I told him not very long without the United States support. And that's another time where he asked me, "Oh, do they really have oil, minerals?" This was the beginning. That was our conversation in May 31st, 2018. That was the first time where Donald Trump even started realizing what Ukraine was. But you also have to understand Ukraine was also always the enemy. For two reasons. A, Donald Trump is a strong man, and he believes in the strong. He doesn't like underdogs, and he believes Russia is very strong. He believes that Putin is a strong leader, and he doesn't believe that Zelensky is anywhere near that caliber, and he doesn't believe that Ukraine could stand up to Russia. So that's first of all. Second of all, Trump is tied into Russia. They are forever bounded by Russiagate because of what the Democrats did in 2015 and 16 by pushing that Russiagate and with the Steele dossier, with the P tapes, and making it such a bond between him and Russia. It turned Trump to forcing him to be aligned with Russia. That's one of the reasons he sent me to Ukraine in 2018-19 to dig up dirt on the Bidens and everything to prove it wasn't just the Bidens. It was also to get to prove that the Manafort ledgers had nothing to do with Ukraine, that with Russia, that it was the Ukrainians, that it wasn't the Russians that were trying to interfere to elections. It was the Ukrainians trying to interfere into the elections. So Donald Trump has always, from back to 2015-16 when he got into office, has always had not a good taste in their mouth when it comes to Ukrainians. Then when he got into office this time, he thought that he would steamroll over Zelensky. He thought he had Zelensky in his pocket. That is why he made those comments to everybody that he will stop the war in 24 hours. Because he thought as soon as he gets into power, Zelensky's going to do whatever he tells him to do, and he will look like a hero. He didn't realize the resilience Zelensky had. He didn't realize that Zelensky stood up to him in his first term by not announcing an investigation into the Bidens, and he didn't realize that he stood up to him again this time by not bowing down. And now that's why you see all these theatrics play out, because the deals that Trump and Putin's teams have been talking, it's been way before Trump took office in his second term. It goes back to
Lev, hang on, Lev, hang on. Lev, hang on. What you're implying is that Donald Trump, one, he has interests in Ukraine. Two, he is already, in good terms with Russia. I mean, he's tweeting at 4 a.m. and that's business time in Russia. So yes, he has good terms in Russia. And at the same time, you're saying that he wants the war to continue because he's fueling both powers. He doesn't.
Trump wants the war to stop. No.
And if he wants war to stop, does he want it to end on Russian terms?
on Russia's terms. That's the important part. He wants it to stop
On Russian terms.
give up land. Like he doesn't. He's not. There's no negotiation on Ukraine's part. It's all about stopping. The only concession that Trump is willing to give Ukraine is that your people will stop dying. That's the only concession. There's no concession that Ukraine. If you take a look at any part of any of these deals, everything else is maybe fake promises. But the only concrete thing he's saying is that by stopping it and giving up the land and swapping and whatever he's saying is your people will die. He's not giving them any promises about NATO, security, Article 5. All of that is on the opposite. He's taking that even off the table by his 4 o'clock in the morning tweets.
Can I
Libby.
just the very fact that Zelensky has basically Europe coming to the White House, all those leaders, because they are, I think they see through what's going on, and Europe could be next.
But Rich, but just to interrupt you, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what did Trump do? As soon as he heard that, he stopped and said, I'm meeting with Zelensky first, one-on-one, then I'm going to bring you in. Because I know I've been in those rooms. This one-on-one is going to be basically such a pressure campaign for him to sell his soul. And this is going to be where Zelensky either, where really we're going to see, this is where it's all going to be made. Either he stands up to Trump and this goes on, or, hopefully I don't see a plan B.
Libby, your take on that.
Well, I hate to say, that I totally agree with Lev, because that doesn't make for good television. But history instructs us, as I was saying earlier, the Ribbentrop-Molotov pact that Germany would not invade the Soviet Union, it fell apart because, once again, and I'm not saying Donald Trump is Hitler. The only Hitler was the one who was a failed Austrian artist, served in World War I, and committed genocide across Europe. And this is not an attempt to say Donald Trump is Hitler. I believe that's wrong. What I do think, and Len points out, is by taking Zelensky aside to try to pressure him, if that's what he's doing, then that shows his tactics. He also browbeat and humiliated Zelensky in the last visit to the White House. He caught him pretty unprepared. So he is making Zelensky look weak. Once again, I mean, these kind of negotiations are very complex.
But when you say that he makes look Zelensky weak, what about his those pre-summit threats of severe consequences if the ceasefire is not achieved? Because ceasefire wasn't achieved. Who does make it look weaker then?
Right. First, he gave Putin 50 days. Then he rolled that back. I don't even know where the ceasefire deadline stands now. I assume it's gone.
He said right now there is none, because we had such a good meeting that right now there's no conversation about sanctions or anything. It's all up to Zelensky right now, he said.
Thank God.
Mm-hmm.
Libby, I see you are pretty short of words right now because whatever you predicted last time when you were here on our show, whatever you predicted, it's actually happening the same way. So I think you should be, pounding your chest in pride that what you feared actually came true.
And that's true of Mr. Parnas as well. He has been saying, and I read his Substack religiously, because it's one of the sources where you can get an insider's point of view without it being tainted by propaganda. And I respect that a great deal. As a journalist, we want facts as best as can be determined. It's never going to be the total truth, but we take the different sides and try to process them. And I think on your show earlier, I said that Donald Trump is very easy to see through, in that it is all about him. If he's snubbed, he will get his revenge. It doesn't matter who it is, who stands in the way. He's going to respond in a form of retribution. That's been my observation being in Washington, as long as I have. No other president has been as blatant as that. He came into this second term promising revenge.
Thank you so much, Richard, and thank you so much, Lev. It's truly insightful, and we will make sure that next time when you're on the show, we will have the other part of the conversation with us. And I don't want myself to be in an awkward position where I have to advocate for Donald J. Trump. I'm supposed to be a moderator. I'm non-partisan. Thank you so much for joining in. And thank you so much for watching The Global Script. Bye-bye from now.